are. They are not the factory hot rods that they should be. Just because Detroit's dead doesn't mean that pro stock has to be dead. Now is the time to bring it out, to bring in the modern technology, to bring in the Camaros, the Challengers, the Mustangs. Fellas, we need to do something. We're racing dinosaurs out here.
Well, Jerry Bickle's got a Camaro body coming out.
Yeah, but he's putting that doggone 500 cubic inch engine in there.
You're against the Bobby Bennett.
Yes, I am.
Bobby Bennett is.
I mean, if you're gonna do something that's not Detroit produced, at least put a big honking 800, 900 cubic inch motor in there and let them run balls to the wall.
I'm a little bit of a purist. I like the 500 cubic inch engine. However, I also understand that sometimes you got to do things for the good of the racers. And these 500 cubic inch engines, the more I learn about them, they're good for only one thing, and that's NHRA Pro Stock, and that's it. And all this money and time and effort and research and development going into developing these engines and finding a quarter of a horsepower, then you can make 20 cents on the dollar reselling it some way to someone who's, I don't know, bracket racing. Not at all, really. Most of it ends up cut up in the back of the shop because they don't want someone stealing the ideas. That's not good. You have had an actual theory about using small blocks with turbochargers.
Yes.
That gains some traction.
358 cubic inches. You could share the NASCAR technology, turbochargers, EFI at the same time. And you could steal that. And let's face it, drag racing needs a younger generation. And you're not going to rope a teenager in with a stinking Cobalt running down the track. I'm sorry, I wouldn't even get the car as a rental car. And you're going to tell me this is a factory hot rod? Are you kidding me? You know,
the guys at General Motors are ones that are making those decisions,
well,
and I think it's a bad. I agree. I think it's a bad decision.
No wonder Detroit went bankrupt if that's what you're marketing.
You want to move on to funny car?
Whatever you want to do. I'm on a roll, man.
Bobby Bennett is a baseball player, and he's bringing the heat right now on a new segment we just created called Bobby Brings the Heat.
Look, I love this sport just as much as everybody here.
Maybe more.
I spend, and this is not about me, this is about every single member of my team that is here. And we're here because we love this sport and we want to see it advance, not sit here and go stale. I mean, let's face it, at CompetitionPlus.com, we had a pretty good comfort zone in just reporting the news. But you know what? I didn't want to have to put forth the money to buy new camera equipment and stuff. But I understand that there's a future coming that for the better of this, we have to step up and do that. Well, again, it's apples and oranges, I understand, to the Pro Stock guys investment. But did you actually get into this sport thinking it was going to be cheap?
Racing is never, ever cheap. And I think a lot of the people in the grandstands and in pit area would agree. Bobby Bennett brings the heat on WFO Radio. Funny car. Cruz Pedregon ran 402 with a 6. I think really laid down the law on these guys. Melanie ran a 406.8, and we thought, wow, she's getting there. Caps with a great run. General over there, track record 314 miles per hour. But I think Cruiser really laying it down.
Cruz, for everything he did at Denver, is just now fully backed up from that run he made at Denver. That's how far out on the edge he was. I mean, you just imagine somebody walking over to the Grand Canyon and leaning over on their toes and balancing over the edge. Well, that's where Cruz did. It takes a lot when you go that far off to bring it back. And it took him maybe, 3, 4, 5 races to finally get back into his groove. That's how far they went over. Now, if we're acting surprised at the performance of Melanie Troxell's car, let's look at the big factor here. You got the crew chief, Aaron Brooks, formerly with Gary Selsey and Mike Neff, and they weren't a base-hitting team, I don't think.
No.
And John Medlin, who I believe is one of the smartest guys in the nitro pits. Not to mention a good guy overall, but the bottom line is you look at these two teams and you're going to see a shootout tomorrow. I would not be surprised. I am surprised we didn't see the first 3-second run already.
Really? Well, it could come tomorrow, and everyone is waiting for that. Maybe the first big milestone since 1,000 foot because it's taken so long to get there. There have been a couple of events. Maybe this will be the one. Maybe it'll happen, and it's proven to be more difficult than anyone had thought. 402.6, and then in top fuel, Antron Brown tells us the track was so good that it slowed his car down.
The term we we call the track was hateful. That's just when it's nasty. And again, you saw you heard what Jason Lund was talking about, that the track has teeth. When you get out there, and they could not throw enough clutch at it. And you can imagine what this track would be like if we were in the conditions of October. I mean, you look at a Reading, and you'll see what this is. This is not a bad track. It's just the time of year that we're here. This track is really, really good.
And if Antron says that they didn't have enough and it slowed his car down and he felt slow because the track was so good, I can only imagine now that these guys have had some more time what they're going to do tomorrow.
Again, too, let's look at the big picture here. 2 former funny car guys, and they're not shy about throwing the clutch at it either.
Absolutely. In fact, obviously this is the big go, but you look at the top half of the ladder in Top Fuel. You got Antron, Dell, Brandon, Spencer, Larry, Tony, Rod, Doug Coletta. That's the top 8. What a diversified bunch.
And I'll tell you what.
Rod Fuller, potential spoiler in there. Made a great run.
Yeah, and again, Rod Fuller, he's a very good driver. And that whole team over there. I think that the Bob Vandergrift Jr. team, along with Rod Fuller, they have the potential. I mean, they may not be the front-running team, but, you remember back in the 70s, when you had those teams like –
I've read books.
like the Houston Astros. You knew they weren't going to win the title, but you dreaded going into that Houston Astrodome to play baseball because they were going to have the guys like J.R. Richard and all that could bring the heat, but they wouldn't bring the heat on a consistent basis.
Bobby Bennett brings the heat on WFO Radio, making the Houston Astros references. It's like we just made a big wild left-hand turn at the end of the racetrack, but I love it.
Roll, man.
Bobby, I'm having a great time here at the U.S. Nationals. Hopefully our listeners are too, and those of you who have found us through Competition Plus, we appreciate you coming on. And those of you who listen to WFO on a weekly basis, if you don't read your news on CompetitionPlus.com, then you're missing out. You need to get over there and check it out. We've got a cool new segment we're doing with Gary Selzy.
The thing is that really impresses me about you guys at WFO is that you have the passion. And the thing about passion is when you have that passion in your heart, you do it with reckless abandon. You do it without concern of what the monetary gain is. I guarantee you, if you were independently wealthy, all of us would do this for free.
Some of it. Maybe not 22 races a year.
No, well, maybe I would have left a long time before 1:30 a.m. last night. We got here yesterday probably about 9:10 a.m. and left out of here at 1:30.
People don't realize what a long day it can be at the drags.
Oh, I'm serious. And when it rains, oh gosh, it's even worse. But the thing is that you have to be almost like a driver when you go up on that starting line. But when you're typing a story, you have to be mentally focused, and you do whatever you can to stay awake, whether it's those 5-hour energies.
Oh, Bobby is he's sucking down more 5-hour energy than you can possibly imagine, folks. And we're here in the Tower Media Center at Lucas Oil Raceway, and Sportsman Racing is on the track, and the number 1 qualifiers have left the building, and it has been one heck of a night. Bobby, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, I'm honored to be on here.
Well, do we want to get Mr. Reinhardt in?
Alan? You're bringing in the second string. I'm glad I got him warmed up for you.
Bobby Bennett brings the heat on WFO Radio. Bobby, thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'm bringing in my relief pitcher.
We're going to call to the bullpen.